Welcome to Valerie Geary's Book Nook. I'm Valerie, this is The Nook, a cozy place for us to chat about reading. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite fiction reads for 2021. There will be a few honorable mentions. Now I know you're thinking, why just fiction? Well, one, because I didn't read a lot of nonfiction in 2021. I should probably work on that. And two, I'm going to be doing another video later this month or maybe next month about the nonfiction that I did read in 2021. So be sure to come back for that. But today we're talking about fiction favorites, so let's dive right in. Before I get to the top 10 list, there are some honorable mentions that I want to tell you about. These didn't quite make the top 10 list, but they were favorites of mine this year, and I do recommend them. I will be recommending them to people. They are books that I enjoyed reading and books that I will remember and definitely be recommending in the future. Mem by Bethany C Morrow. This is a sci-fi book about clones who hold memories for people, and one of the clones who is sentient and remembers her own memories. This is a short book with spare prose, but a very powerful story. Another honorable mention is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin, a sci-fi classic that really surprised me with how emotional the ups and downs of this adventure story of a person who goes to a planet to try and unify this planet with the other planets in the galaxy. And I was surprised at how much this book made me feel things. I also want to mention Our Tragedy by Elle Mitchell, which is a domestic suspense novel. But it is quite a bit more than that. There are several layers to this book. The characters are complicated, there is a voyeuristic tone to it, and a nuanced exploration of grief. Another honorable mention is Wonderland by Zoje. This book messed me up. It is about a family who goes and moves to a new house next to a forest that is, I don't know, evil. It has really bad intentions. There are not good things in this forest, and this book was just a wild ride of a book. The final honorable mention is a cozy mystery, Grave Reservations by Cherie. This book is set in Seattle, and the sleuth that we're following is a very bad psychic. She's also a travel agent. I think she's a better travel agent than a psychic. She dabbles in a little karaoke and also in a little murder mystery solving. It was a great, fun read. Okay, so those are the honorable mentions for 2021, and now let's break down the top 10 list. This list is going in order. I'll be starting at 10, working my way down to 1, which will be the favorite of all of the favorites of the year. Number 10 is The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon. I know I have talked about this book before. I did a whole reading vlog on this book in October, and this book was just plain spooky fun. I'm not going to give away too much of the plot on this one, but it is a book that has a lot of things I love, including a haunting, past and present timelines, sisters, things that go bump in the night, an unsettling atmosphere. What I liked about this book was that it felt like a unique ghost story to me, one that I hadn't read yet, and it just creeped me out. It was the perfect October read. Number 9 is the book Who Is Mod Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. Again, I think this is another book where the less I say, the better for you, the reader, because there are a lot of unexpected twists, little surprises throughout the book that are better enjoyed if you just go into it not knowing very much about the book. I will say that with this one, I almost bailed on it. The beginning was a bit slow for my taste, but I stuck with it because I liked the writing, I was intrigued by what was happening, and I am so glad I did stick with it. Obviously, it made my top 10 list in the number 9 spot, and so phew, thank goodness that I did not bail on that book. The basic premise is that a young woman who wants to be a writer takes a job as an assistant with a very famous reclusive writer. She's kind of hoping to apprentice under her. However, she gets way more than she bargained for. That's all I'm going to say about Who Is Mod Dixon. Pick it up, find out for yourself the twists and turns and wild ride that this book is. Number 8 is The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. On the surface, this is a speculative thriller about clones and infidelity, but dig a little deeper and you'll find all sorts of interesting layers. There's ethical complications, moral complications, emotional complications, relational complications. What I loved most about this book was the exploration of autonomy and who gets to decide how you live your life whether you get to live your life, what choices you make, the decisions you have, who gets to be human, how a life is lived. There were also some interesting elements in here about emotional abuse, toxic relationships, resilience, and forging a new path after trauma. There were just a lot of complicated and thought-provoking concepts, and that's why The Echo Wife made it to number 8. Hitting number 7 is The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. The Dreamers is about a mysterious sleeping sickness that sweeps a small college town. I read it over the summer. There is a reading vlog for this one too. It was pretty unsettling considering we are still in the midst of our own pandemic, though not a sleeping one. But there were a lot of similarities and a lot of ways that this book just fit in with how I was feeling this summer. This is my second book by Karen Thompson Walker, and I love her spare writing style, the delicate layers she weaves with her characters and with her storylines, and the way she just writes with a sense of nostalgia, of things lost, things that I didn't even know were missing. Coming in at number 6 is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. This is a cozy mystery, and I fell in love with the main character. I fell in love with the friendships she has, the family she has. In this book, she is returning to her home to help out with her family's restaurant business when a food reviewer is killed at their restaurant. And, you know, as one does in a mystery, she sets out to find the killer and gets herself into a whole heap of danger. It's a lighter read, but it's fun with a lot of smart layers and a lot of interesting relationships. My 5th favorite book for 2021 was Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. This is a family saga with a touch of magical realism. It swings between Hawaii and the West Coast, some places in Oregon and California. It has a grand sense of place and atmosphere and explores history and family and our connection to the land and how our destinies are shaped. This was a powerful read that I am still thinking about, even though I read this book way back in, I think, January. Number 4 is The Dark Lake by Sarah Bailey. This is a police procedural set in Australia, and now that I'm holding it up, I did a reading vlog on this book too. 3 books in my top 10 list that I did reading vlogs on. Nice. I love the main character in this book. She was complicated. I didn't always like her, but I was rooting for her. She made a lot of bad choices that I didn't agree with, but I was really interested in her story and in her trying to solve this crime and how she was involved with this town. This is, again, a police procedural, just kind of a standard, typical someone's murdered, the detective is trying to find out who did it, but it has a dark atmosphere, lush prose, there's some past secrets involved, tangled up in the present day mystery, and I just really sank into the story. I really enjoyed it. I do really like police procedurals as a general rule, but this one, I don't know if it was just the way that she wrote the main character or if it was the atmospheric tone or the different setting, but I was really invested in this story. Number 3 is another one that I think I read back in January, Conjure Women by Afia Atakora. This book was intense. It was a little hard to read at times. There was violence, there was issues with slavery and racism, and it was a kind of a difficult book to, say like, I enjoyed this book, but it was a powerful read. There was beauty and hope to it as well, and I enjoyed the family saga elements and the way that we watch the main character's narrative threads move through the story and the way she interacts with the past and the present and her hope for the future. Again, there was a touch of magic, not necessarily fantasy, but more like a magical realism element to this book that I loved, and also the storyline of a woman finding her power was really moving to me. It was a book with plenty of unexpected moments, and the writing was lovely. Okay, so we are making our way through this list. We are here at the top, the number 2 book on my top 10 favorite fiction novels of fiction novels. I mean, seriously, can we be more redundant? My top 10 favorite fiction reads of 2021. We are up to number 2. Number 2 is The Lamplighters by Emma Stonex. This one was so mysterious and just dreary and wrapped in fog. It's set by the ocean. It is set in a lighthouse. There is a historical element to it. So these 3 men are working in this lighthouse. And then they go missing without an explanation, very mysterious and strange. Several years into the future, their wives are approached by a writer who's trying to figure out what happened to these men, and as the women tell the story, everything just kind of unfolds. There were multiple narrators in this book, which at times made it a little hard to like sink into the emotion of the story. However, I feel like it needed multiple narrators to be told because we got the full spectrum of the mystery and of the lighthouse and of the way this group of people interacted and the way their stories threaded together. A meticulously crafted book about loneliness and grief and isolation, and it was set next to an ocean at a lighthouse. It was just such a beautiful book. And this cover, if you like character-driven literary books, atmospheric prose, secrets, mysterious elements, maybe a touch of the ghostly paranormal, just a sprinkle, definitely check out The Lamplighters by Emma Stonex. Finally, my number one pick, my number one favorite read for 2021. Are you ready? My favorite book of 2021 was Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. I don't know why I picked such a sad book to be my favorite read of 2021, why my number one book out of all these books is the saddest, most heart-wrenching one. Decide for yourself what you think that means about me. I like to feel things. And this one, wow, it made me feel a lot of things. It's set in a not too far future where animals are going extinct and humans are still behaving terribly. And it's clear that we're supposed to be in the future. However, it felt very close, very now, very present, very much I was in it. I wasn't like waiting for it. It was like one of those dystopian type books where you're like, oh, this is going to happen next month. So this is a story of one woman's quest to follow the last migration of an endangered Arctic tern. She hops a boat, she kind of like stows away on it, and gets this captain to take her on this journey to find this bird. And in the process, she is also on a quest to find herself. We found out about her history and why she is on this quest to find this Arctic bird. The prose is mwah. The descriptions of the landscape, great, but it didn't go over the top. It wasn't so lush that you like lost yourself in the words. You were still able to get involved in the story. Like the writing hooked you, the story hooked you, and the prose was simple enough to keep you just like pulsing along as you're going on this adventure with this woman and as her secrets are unfolding. I guess I like a book that makes me cry, and Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy did that for me, and that is why it is my number one favorite read for 2021. So what do you think of this list? Are there any that you've read? Any that look interesting to you that you might want to read next year? Are there any that you think shouldn't be on this list? Did I miss the mark completely with some of these? And I want to know what books made your top 10 list for 2021. Thank you for joining me here in my cozy reading nook. I'll see you next time.